This is Signal and Noise, bringing clarity to data, tech, and AI.
Real Longacre here, Signal and Noise. We are day number 4 at Cannes Lion 2026, and with a special repeat guest, Rob McLaughlin, CEO of Audiences.
Rio, it's great
Pleasure.
to be back.
Good to see you, brother.
Thank you.
So we had such a great time with you in the pod the first time. We thought we want round 2.
I'm right here.
We want you back. So good to see you in the south of France. And how's camp been for you so far?
It's been great. Last year was our first, and this year has just been better, more positive, more intense. We had a lovely time.
And hotter too.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Although the team back in London and my kids, it's hotter in London.
I heard. Oh, it's got to be miserable in a big city like that.
Yeah, and they just don't have the sea to
the
take
breeze
the edge
or
off.
the sea or any of that. Well, I'd love if people could maybe not all of the viewers of this will know who you are or what Audiences your company does. Maybe you spend a minute or two on that. That'd be amazing.
My specialist subject. Yeah. 4 years ago, we noticed the saddest thing about our industry, that less than 3% of media that was bought was informed by any form of first-party data. That wasn't us noticing it. It was the holdcos and the independents saying it themselves. And we had a look at why. Deadly cocktail of privacy, security, and the cost, faff of doing anything regarding data and technology. We wanted to solve that. So Audiences is a cloud-native application, runs wherever your data is. Massive news. For the last 4 years, we've run within Google Cloud, AWS, and Azure. And as of several weeks ago, we now also run completely natively in Snowflake, which has been a lovely theme for this week here at Cannes as well.
This sounds like, okay, so I'm going to talk about this a little bit from the lens of using data in our industry. Is that stat real? 3%?
It's from in their own ways.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, we agree, man. We agree it's so ridiculous. It was worth starting a company to solve it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you de-jargon this, we're basically saying that less than 3% of the industry runs on data that originates from source. Okay, right. So this is crazy, right? We've taken so long to get here. How have customers responded to this? Do they get how absurd this is?
Yeah, so advertisers themselves really get it.
Yeah.
So they really, really get it. And they've been on like a cycle where they've been frustrated with it, and they've tried, and then they've given up, and maybe they've got a second wind and they're coming back, which is, we're here for that. Publishers and data owners, they've also been on a whole little cycle of their own. This isn't, and there's no conspiracy theory, and there's no baddie in this story, but there's been some interesting stuff. So it's convenient for media owners in some cases, especially the walled gardens, for advertisers not to bring their first party data.
I can confirm it's very low, Chris. It's interesting. We did some work when Amazon launched Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is the media clean room. The stat I heard about a year ago was out of the several thousand brands that had access to a clean room where they could upload first party data, only 1%. I think it was half of 1% actually was doing it. That's people who are already buying media on retail media, have a place they can store it. Let's say clean room 1%, less than that. So it's like the 3% number doesn't surprise me. I think it might even be too high. Right?
Well, and when we unpick it, because it's not our stat, it's in their own ways, each of the holdcos told us themselves. And it's wonderful that in some ways they're motivated to improve. Improve the situation on behalf of the advertiser, subject for a lovely article, perhaps. The quotable people from each one of the holdcos and some of the indies, and it's a mission. It's quite something.
So you said that you have some kind of a big announcement or scoop you can give Signal Noise. We love our scoops here. We had a couple last week. So is that true?
We're so excited about it. And I know you had Sarah Robertson from Experian, Chief
Awesome
Product
interview. I was on the other day. I believe it's publishing today.
It's amazing. So
She's so smart, by the way.
She's the best, and she's been smart and in this industry and with experience, making sure they're smart for a long time. Yeah. So, well, the news is we audiences are the activation and onboarding pipes for Experian in EMEA, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that is big.
Yeah.
Congratulations. That's really big news.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
We're amped. We've tried to stay close to Experian for a long time. There's a segue here. Yeah. And Sarah will say it just as clearly herself. Things somewhat accelerated.
With the recent news?
Yeah. Yeah. So, when you are the source of incredible identity and incredible insight, like Experian are, the opportunity to deliver that to the market, whilst maintaining your neutrality and promoting the identity spine, the household IDs, which they have, and to do it all in a compliant way at massive scale. I mean, in the end, it's created incredible opportunity for Experian, for us, and for the industry.
Is it, out of interest, what would you say is the talk track to a brand marketer? Is it about less friction in the process of doing this, onboarding this data, or is it the privacy compliance side, or is it something else?
Hey, so first of all, everyone's on board with the value of data and media. And I know on our last time together, we talked about that. So market, we don't have to preach that. That's good. But yes, it's data privacy and data security, both sides of the Atlantic, UK, mainland Europe. Hey, it's table stakes, and saying that you're trusted with an ISO or a SOC 2, that isn't good enough. Okay. So you have to be very clear that the owner of the data maintains the owner and the only processor if you're going to get things to work quickly. LiveRamp pushed very, very hard and invested huge amounts. And just to circle back onto that stat, they only managed to get, they and the rest of the industry only managed to get, circa 3% of media informed by this data. That hadn't worked. Like onboarding data using third-party technology hasn't worked. So there needed to be a solve for that. Yeah.
But I always thought, like, with looking at LiveRamp, I mean, one of the reasons why they grew so quickly was, originally for Meta, right? They were really if you wanted to onboard data, first party data, Meta, you had to use Ramp ID, and all you're pushing was the Ramp ID. I mean, so I think a lot of the data onboarding with LiveRamp, you get a Ramp ID, you shoot that, which is good because you can match Ramp ID. They have all the integrations with publishers. But I think the limitation was, like, you have, like, brands have a lot more than just Ramp ID, right? They have all this great order history, customer service, all of this rich first party data on their customers that in theory, you'd want that informing your media too. Even maybe supply chain information, like in order to inform where you're buying, how much you're bidding. All of that should, like, in theory, it's there. Why not use it, right?
Hey, look, as an advertiser, my first party data might be this big. Yeah. Emails, HEMs, phone numbers, etc., postal address. Mapping it to Ramp ID only made it go from this to this. Yeah. And then that was the activatable data set. That's not in the interests of the advertiser, that process. And was beautiful coincidence, and like a advisor of ours to us, Nick Dixit, who founded Arbor and coincidentally or not coincidentally sold Arbor to LiveRamp, has always been the proponent of data owners should match their first party data to media first, and then they should look at what incremental they can get from the likes of Ramp ID and other ID providers.
This is, I mean, I worked a long time in Australia where the economies of scale of this topic the math never mathed, really, ever. Like, we were always selling, our eyes were always bigger than our stomach when it came to trying to actually juice the sale that had been made by a seller. So they would sell a brand onto this dream scenario of customer data onboarding, and we're going to match it. We're going to talk to these people differently. And then exactly like you said, but imagine Australia versus the UK or US. So tell me a little bit, about that, the economies of scale on from the approach that you've taken, and some results that you've seen that are just different to this world.
Well, look, it is about, just to use two things in that phrase. It's about a different economic model for onboarding data that you own into media, and it's about scale. Yeah, media, advertising, worship scale. Nothing's changed. Okay, and there have been technical choke points, and Ramp ID is a really good one. You have to be the church of Ramp ID in order to then activate. Okay, we'll break that. Let's break out of that church. Then there's the economic model. Now, bear with me momentarily, but advertising is one of the least rewarding places to onboard data to and to use data. Like direct comms, email, super rewarding. Send out an email campaign, you're probably going to sell some product. Okay, onboard 1 million records into programmatic. Maybe it's better. Okay, and look. I mean, look, and
depending what your match rate is, right?
But
I worked with clients where the match rate was like 2% or 0.5%, right? And like, you're not doing a lot. And then you hope you can build a good lookalike with that. But to your point, right? There's a lot of effort for maybe less reward.
A lot of effort, and the economics for on using data row by row in direct channels are have been very similar to the economics of using data row by row in media. And that's what we had to break. Okay, we had to break that. And that's what, technically, solutions such as ours, which run within the client's cloud and warehouse environment, gives them the ability, without any scale constraint, to push all of the data, all of the identifiers. We talked last time, my view, our house view is that identity resolution is destructive to match rates. Why would you choose an ID? You should bring all the IDs. And when cost is not an option, you bring all of the IDs. When you have an economic model which supports bringing all of your data to media, you bring it at scale. And that's what happens when you connect your cloud and data warehouse directly to DSPs and SSPs. We're not being charitable with our commercial model. We're just saying the hard work is already happening in the storage and compute, and in the office of the CTO. And why don't we make the CMO a stakeholder of the CTO, and you're going to have a really good time.
It's smart. I mean, it's where I think all the waves and tides are moving to: identity as infrastructure, and as more of a propagating it from within the right places within the customer's infrastructure, as opposed to trying to feed it back that way after it's been grown somewhere else.
And by the way, the customer for us and for our industry is the advertiser, is publishers, and is data vendors. All of them have suffered, and like our business, and I think most of us we've all spent quite a lot of time trying to understand the role of first-party data for advertisers. It's great, and that's good work, and we should do that. Publishers and data vendors, their job is monetizing their audience, their data only. They're hyper margin sensitive in a way. I would suggest in a way which is even more acute than for advertisers themselves, and it's they've been some of the biggest losers in this economic model for the last decade, and they can be one of the biggest winners now. And that's why we love to do it for Experian. That's why we love to do it for publishers who are looking to support ad sales.
Any kind of big observations here at Cannes, or things that you were looking forward to that you've seen or not seen? Anything jump out so far? Or what are the conversations you've been having too?
Yeah. So curation and supply side. I mean, this has been building for a while, but
like curation, like that was the thing a couple of years ago. And then like I've had a couple of podcasts and people are like, oh, curation didn't work. It was like someone compared it to like a mortgage-backed security recently, because it's sandwiching a bunch of good inventory with a lot of crap inventory and creating a deal ID and passing it on. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I thought it was funny.
Yeah, it is funny, and it's an important observation. I may be biased, but you know, I whenever I think about that, I then also think about the conversations with Andrew and Mayora, Index Exchange. These guys are
They're doing some cool stuff over there, especially with
very,
containerization. It is impressive what they're doing. Yeah.
it's so impressive, and they're a very good example. Yeah, they have a great team here in Europe, but the team they brought over from Toronto and New York, we spent a lot of good time with them and with joint customers. So that's that's something which can facilitate in a way which we haven't previously. We wouldn't do it any other time of the year. And then I would say, our friends, other big data vendors, some specialists in like healthcare and similar. We've been able to meet the wider team on video calls and stuff, but can just accelerates and facilitates. So it's been wonderful to do that.
Yeah. I always tell people when they ask like, which event should I go to? I say, well, if you can only go to one, go to Cannes, no brainer. I mean, just, it's something about being, for us Americans, half the people here are Americans, just being away from your time zones, to be in a foreign place with the whole industry, and to be able to like have access to all the people you've always seen remotely, spent time with, but to be in the same place and get all these, to your point, like you're able to sit with Index Exchange together with customers and put these like incredible groups of people together. It's a special event. It really is.
Hey, I think it's more than this, but the geographic thing I think is important. I don't think there is a coming together of European and North American ad tech. Yeah, like this.
Yeah, this is it. Well,
yeah,
Rob, thank you for coming. This was fun, as I thought it would be, and I'm sure there'll be a round 3.
Looking forward to it.